Hey everyone, my name is Lewis Meyer, and I am the producer of Capital Kidvention. So feel free to start your videos so that we can actually see who is here and come join us. And we'll keep you muted for the moment, but go ahead and start your videos so that we can see that we're actually talking to a crowd instead of a bunch of black screens with names on them. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. This is actually going to be a really fun, and I'm going to say, just casual conversation. This is a way for us to sit back and chit chat and talk a little bit about business. When I started Capital Convention, my intention was always to have a conference that brings you different art forms. So whether you're a magician, a foam person, face painters, clowns, it doesn't matter, whatever business, whatever art form that you specialize in. I wanted to have a place where all of them could meet together. But one thing was important about Capital Convention, and that was classes to teach people how to actually make money in this business that we're in. And so that's why Capital Convention every day has these business classes. And so that's why we're here tonight, because we're going to talk a little bit about business. So it's one thing to be a great magician or be a great balloon artist. But if you're looking to book gigs and you're not booking gigs, then it really doesn't matter how good you are. So this way, there's tools. I should say there's carpenters have a tool belt, and so do we too. So I just got a message. The links may not be working, but I think they are. So since you all are here, um, so there's a tool belt that we all have, and there's different things that we use in our tool belt. I've used things in my tool belt since I started as a magician in 1999, and so my tool belt in the beginning was the yellow pages, and that is not the case anymore. That is not in my tool belt. And so what we do is we change with the times, as new technology comes about, then you change with the times. And the people that don't change with the times are the people that are going to start to get left behind as technology changes. So that's one, well, I should say that's probably the big reason why Mitch is here tonight, because Mitch has a tool of technology that we don't have. But more importantly, he wants to talk about how you can, automate your business. And as entrepreneurs, that's something that's super important to us, is having the availability. Is we're usually a one-man show or a one-woman show, a one-person show, and so having some different tools on our tool belt that'll help us run the business, automate it at least, is something that's super beneficial for all of us. And so that's what we're all here to talk about tonight. So we're talking about bringing in more gigs, how to close more gigs, and how to use automation to our advantage, even if you're not technologically advanced, because you don't have to be. There's techniques that Mitch is going to go over that's going to show you things that it's just going to make it easier, even if you're not a tech junkie. So anyways, just real quickly, if you don't know about Capital Convention, the conference that I produce, it's coming up in February 2nd through 4th, and it's a convention for children's entertainers. So whether you work with any of the art forms that I mentioned, we have classes for those. So we have all these different classes and all these different art forms, including business. And so that's a conference that I do, and it's going to be coming up in February, and it's ready. You can go to capitalkidvention.com, capital with a K, and you'll see all the information online. And you can see all the presenters. We have about 35. We will have over 35 presenters that are there, because I haven't even announced all of them yet. So we'll have over 35 presenters. We always have 5 classes going on at every time. So at every time slot in the convention, there's 5 classes, 5 classes, 5 classes. So there's always something. If you want to start twisting balloons, we have classes for that. If you want to start learning a little bit more about magic or puppets, we've got classes for that. So, but if you're experienced in one art form and you want to take some advanced classes in that particular art form, we have those classes too. So with 5 classes going on for 3 days at all times, you could see why we're going to have a lot of information to show you guys. So I'm not going to talk too much about that because that's not why we're here. We're here to figure out how to automate, how to make business, how to use some tools for us to run our businesses better. And so that was the question, the kind of conundrum that I had after COVID was over. I started to realize that Mitch has a program that I was interested in. And the more I looked into it, the more I decided that it's totally worth taking a shot. And then once I did it, once I became an active member using the platform, and let me just say this, and I say this honestly, in the 24 years that I've been doing magic shows, 24 years I've been a children's entertainer, there's 2 things that I think stand out the most that impacted my business the most. One is Google AdWords. So when Google AdWords came out, that impacted my business in such a way that I'll never forget, and it still helps me to this day. But honestly, the second one is Mitch's Party Pro Manager. Because, and I'm not just saying this because it does sound like it because Mitch is on the call, of course. I'm not just saying that, but what it's done for me is it's allowed me to step back. Like, people are booking shows at 4:30 in the morning for me. I'm waking up and I have money when I wake up at 8 o'clock. When I get into my office, I've got money sitting in my system, so that was before something that I had to call that customer back or email that customer back. Those were things that I had to do. And now I don't have to do that. So anyway, so it's quite a system. But regardless, I'm probably not the best expert at this, but Mitch Seltzer is. And so would you guys, I know he's going to introduce himself. So would you guys, I'm going to pass over the baton to Mitch. And Mitch, thank you so much. And the screen is yours.
Thank you so much, Lewis. That was a really, really kind intro. I appreciate that. And I love hearing that story. That is actually like music to my ears. You have no idea how much that means to me. So I really love hearing that. So I'm going to share my screen in a second. I'll try and properly introduce myself so people who don't know me yet, you'll know a little bit about who I am and sort of how I got to this point where we're here together today. I want you to know we're going to be talking about strategies and I'll share some tools with you. So this isn't going to just be a giant infomercial on our product. I promise you that. Okay. That is not my intention here. In fact, even if at the end of all this, you choose to go with a different product, I'm cool with that. I just want to see more people using the tools that exist to make your lives easier so you can do more of the work you love doing and spreading joy and all that. That's what's important here. Of course, I'd love the opportunity to work with you. Don't get me wrong, but that's not my intention here. Is I want to give you the strategies and show you what's possible. That's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to share my screen. Just a real quick survey in the chat. Actually, if you just let me know, can you see me okay? Can you hear me okay? That's the important thing. And I'm going to, yeah, we're thumbs up. Okay, cool. I'm going to share my screen now. I'm just going to need a confirmation from all of you that you could see my screen now properly as well. So that's going to be the other important one. And so I'm going to get on a roll here and I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to try my best to keep checking in on the chat as well. So let me pop that open actually. All right, awesome. So I've got the chat rolling here. I got a double screen situation, so I see your faces on the side too. So give me the visual feedback too. If I'm confusing you, give me a confused look. If it sounds great, give me a thumbs up. It just helps me know where we're at. All right, and thank you, Brian and Debbie, for confirming in the chat that you could see and hear everything. All right, awesome. So let's get into it. We are here to talk about how to make your party business, your children's entertainment business, automatic and easy to run. That is our goal. And by the end of this, I'm hoping you're going to walk away and say, yeah, I got some ideas now. And I have some, this isn't so scary. It's not as scary as I thought it might be. Okay. So we're going to be talking about proven strategies that make the business part of your children's entertainment business automatic and easy. And the goal is that by doing that, you're going to have more time to do the stuff you love doing. Now, whether that's entertaining more, whether that's doing more stuff with your family, whether that's doing getting more exercise, whatever it is, I just want to unlock time for you because that is the most valuable asset we all have. All right. So some of the things we're going to cover. We're going to talk about how to cut your admin work in half. Okay. We're going to talk about what you should never fully automate. When I start teaching people about automation, they get really excited and then they start getting carried away. But there are certain tasks that you absolutely should not automate. I'm going to share what those are. We're going to talk about tasks I want you to cross off your to do list forever. We're going to talk about we're going to debunk some big myths around automation. And this is like a big thing in our industry. I hear these things over and over and over again. We're going to talk about how to pick the best software tools, whether it's a tool that we provide or some other tool. I just want you to have a checklist in your mind of what's important to be looking for. Okay. Now, who is this for? This is for people who are children's entertainers, children's activity providers. I am focused on people who are serious about their business. So, yes, what we do is all fun and games, but we know that we party for a living and partying is serious business. That's what I'm looking for. These are people who are willing to work on their business so they don't have to always be working so hard in their business. Okay. I'm looking for people who are open to change because if you're here, you've probably had your own way of doing things. Just like Lewis said, hey, he had his own way of doing things previously, but you have to be open to exploring the possibility of change. You may at the end decide, you know what, this isn't for me, but I want you open-minded about this. And I also want you ready to take action because I will be asking you to take some specific actions even before we're done tonight. Okay. If at any point you have any questions, drop them in the chat. And I'll do my best to answer as we go, but I'm also going to open it up to some Q&A at the end. Now, before we get too deep into this, I want you to know I've prepared notes on everything we're going to be talking about. So you don't need to go crazy writing all the notes. You could grab a copy here. There's a link. It's partybusinessgrowth.com/kidvention, or use that QR code if that's easier for you. I'm going to put this link up again when I'm done, because right now you might be like, well, how do I know the notes are going to be worth having? So if you're not certain you want them now, that's fine. I will give you this link one more time at the end so that you can grab it then. But the link is partybusinessgrowth.com/kidvention. So real quickly, I want to share my story, who I am, how I got to be here. In that photo there, that's me in the middle of that adorable group of children giving high fives. I actually have over 20 years experience in the children entertainment industry. So I'm not just a tech nerd, I am one of you. I'm not a magician. I'm not a face painter. I provided team building activities for kids and teens. That's what we did. We specialized in hands-on activities that promoted respect, cooperation, team spirit. And I loved it. And I did that for over 20 years. I built my business to a point that I was really proud of. We were operating in multiple locations. We were running over 3,000 events per year. We were doing over $1 million in annual revenues across those 3 locations. We had a team of 10 full-time staff helping us run our business, and an additional team of 75 part-time people out there helping us to deliver our service. And that was my business model. It doesn't mean that that's what your business model needs to look like, but this is what we did. Okay. And one of the things I'm actually most proud of is I actually sold that business, and I had very lucky timing. It was actually about 8 months before the pandemic hit. I sold that business and it still operates successfully without me. And that idea of that business running without me there running it and doing everything was unimaginable to me. In fact, I almost shut my business down in year 5 of running that business. And some of the reasons were that I felt like I was on call 24/7. I felt like I had to micromanage absolutely everything anyone on my team was doing. I felt stuck to my desk, which wasn't why I got into the work that I was doing. I had no work-life balance. My weekends were not my weekends. My evenings were not my evenings. My days were not even my days. Everything, I was a slave to my business. And I was constantly stressed. Now, your list of frustrations in your business, I have no doubt we all have frustrations in our business, right? It's just it's the nature of the beast. And your list might be different than mine. It could be not enough money. It could be staff issues, not enough leads coming in. But it's important that everybody who's here today, that you know that behind every success story you see out there in our industry, that their process of getting to that point included all these frustrations, all the frustrations you're having, or some version of it of their own. So it could be the ones that I had, it could be the ones that you're going through, but fighting through those frustrations is very, very normal. And I just want everybody to know, because like I ran my business successfully and people look at it, the end result, but there was a whole journey getting to that point. Okay. And it's just part of the process. So, what do I do today? Myself and my business partner, Adam, we co founded Party Business Growth Solutions. And our mission is simply to help people grow their party business and to do that as quickly as possible. And we do that by sharing tips and advice through workshops just like this. We do it in our own Facebook group, the Party Business Think Tank. If you're not a member, come join us there. But really, at our core, we're both just a couple of tech nerds. I have a computer science background. Before I got into the world of just playing games with kids for a living, I was a computer science graduate. And so we actually spend most of our time and most of our energy developing software tools that we've built specifically for the party business industry and the kids entertainment business industry. And these are tools to help people get more gigs while doing less of the grunt work that they absolutely hate doing. And that's what we do. So enough about me. Let's talk about you guys. Okay. So why are you here? Right. We all got into this line of work because we love our craft. Maybe you have a passion for performing. Maybe it's the art that you do. Maybe it's seeing the smiles on the kids' faces. But let's face it, there aren't really a lot of jobs out there that enable us to do this work that feeds that passion that we have, right? And so by default, a lot of us, out of necessity, we start an entertainment business. And it's not because we love the idea of being an entrepreneur or financial statements or spreadsheets or even dealing with clients, right? Or staff for that matter. But it's because that passion for what we love doing is so strong. And at the beginning of your business and at the beginning of that journey, everything's great. Every new gig, every new inquiry that comes in, everything's cause for celebration and it feels awesome. But at some point, as you continue along the journey, things start to frustrate you. It could be not enough leads. It could be not knowing like what you're doing as a marketer. It could be that feeling of the stress and the burden of being a business owner. And the more you struggle with the business and administrative and operations side of your business, the more that all the grunt work starts to really wear you down. And then you start feeling like I felt in year 5. You feel like you're working 24/7. You're feeling stressed. Even when you aren't working, you're thinking about work. Like, did I remember to send that? I remember nights where I'd wake up in the middle of the night. Hey, I forgot to email the client. I forgot to send the invoice. All like those freak out moments. Did my staff confirm? Did I get paid? I like try. My mind was racing all the time. And you start sacrificing family time. You're feeling stressed. You're taking it out on the people who are closest to you, and and then what happens is you start getting stripped of that passion that propelled you into this business in the first place, right? And so the more chats I've had with people in our industry, sometimes our clients, people in our Facebook community for children's entertainers, the more I hear people basically saying some version of this quote that's up on the screen. It's like, Mitch, I'm ready to give up. And why is my small business so hard to run? So again, I want you to know if you're feeling this way, you're not alone. I felt this way. A lot of people I speak to are feeling this way all the time. And it's especially, I feel like it's especially important for you to know that because unless your family and friends are also in the industry, they usually don't get it. I know the experience I had was everybody thought everything I was doing was all fun and games. That's all they saw. They saw me playing with kids and they thought that's all I had to do and how fun and how lucky I am. And then it hit me with that dreaded, like, when are you going to get a real job question? And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm running a business in 3 cities. I have a team of almost 100 staff. What are you talking about a real job? This is a real job. It reminds me of there's a great quote by Jeff Immelt, the former CEO of GE many years ago, and he said something like, paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact quote, but it's like every job looks easy when you're not the one doing it, right? And that's exactly how I felt. People were looking at me and my children's entertainment business, and it drove me bananas. So for those of you who are joined up and watching us live here, like, can you relate to any of this? Like, let me know in the comments. Like, is this sort of ringing true for you? You feel it? You feel it? You've been there? Let me know, just because I want to know, if we're all on the same page here. So, um, yeah, Debbie says all the time. Yeah, so I hear you. Like, this is how I was feeling, and what's great is, what didn't exist back when I was going through all that in year 5. Facebook and social media wasn't a thing. There was no way to, like, what we're doing today is just amazing that we're able to connect with people who are doing exactly what we do, right? And feeling the way we're feeling. And back then, the only people I could turn to are people who lived in my city, and they wouldn't talk to me out of fear that I was going to steal all their ideas, right? So Anyway, to answer the great question that's up on the screen here, but why is my business so hard to run? So I want to share a quick story about a client of ours. His name is Michael, and he came to us looking to make his life easier, like so many of our clients do, because they know that's what we try to help people with. And he had all the struggles that I mentioned earlier. And as Michael and I explored his situation and we were looking into like what's going on, like what, tell me about what your stressors are and all that, he shared three very interesting reasons why he felt running his party business was harder than it should be. The first thing he told me was, I'm just not organized. I'm not an organized person. If you look at my car, you look at my house, you look at my desk, everything's just clutter. So that was the first thing he said. The second thing he said was that he felt his staff didn't care enough. They weren't as dedicated to the cause as he was. They weren't as loyal to the cause as he was. And then finally, he told me that his clients expect him to be available 24/7 to offer service. And if he's not, they're going to go to the competition. And if you examine these three things, I'm just not organized, my staff don't care enough, my clients expect 24/7 service, there's an interesting commonality between all three of them. Does anybody have any guesses of what the commonality is between these three things that he shared? Because it was a big eye opener for him when I pointed this out to him. If you have any guesses, drop them in the comments and let me know what do you think is similar about these three things. Then I'll share my answer in about 10 seconds. I'm not seeing any guesses coming through. That's all right. So the thing that they all have in common, interesting. Somebody said him. You're very close. They all blame someone, whether it was him, right? Explaining himself, I'm not that organized, or his team, my staff don't care enough, or even his clients and their behavior patterns. My clients expect 24/7 service. So what we taught Michael is you have to stop blaming yourself. You have to stop blaming your team. You even have to stop blaming your clients. Okay. And we're going to talk about how you do that in just a second. About 20-ish years ago now, I read a book called The E-Myth Revisited. I don't know if any of you have ever read this book by Michael Gerber, but it led to one of the most significant aha moments I had in my entire business career. And it helped me realize that because I was so busy working in my business, I never had time or focus for that matter to work on my business. And when you start working on your business, you quickly realize that you need to abandon those people directed frustrations, like what Michael was having, right? When he's blaming himself, he's blaming his team, he's blaming his clients. He had to stop blaming the people around him. And instead, he had to reframe that and look at these as system directed frustrations. Okay, so here's what that looks like. When he said, I just can't keep all my event details organized, we taught him, you need to look at this differently. Forget about yourself. Let's look at the system that's at play here. And then he was saying, the absence of a centralized event data system is resulting in disorganized events. This is something we could get to work on fixing. We cannot necessarily reprogram ourselves after however many years or however many trips around the sun you've had. You have, certain characteristics and habits are hard to change. Not that it's impossible, but if we start looking at the systems that are at play here, we can actually fix that a lot quicker. When he was saying my staff aren't strong enough and they lack passion and all that stuff, what we needed to look at was the fact that a lack of a high quality staff recruitment and training system is leading to weak performance and disengaged staff. That's something we could fix. We could fix the way we recruit people. We could fix the way that we train people. When he was saying his clients expect him to be available 24/7, we needed to say the absence of an automated client communication system that answers frequently asked questions means I'm not in control of when I work. That's a system we could get to solving. You're not going to be able to go out there and retrain, even if you could change yourself and even if you could change your staff, you're certainly not going to be able to go out there and retrain all of your potential clients and reprogram all of their behavior patterns. But what you can do is you could put systems in place that are going to disrupt the triggers that get them to behave in that way with you. Let your competitors deal with those terrible behaviors. You can have systems in place that prevent it from happening. Okay. So the amazing news is you can change the situation. And I guess in a roundabout way, what I'm trying to say here is that if I had to pick just one reason Michael's business and all of our businesses tend to be harder to run than they should be, it's that we tend to be blaming ourselves for the current state of our business. And because we feel our own character flaws are to blame. And so we're too quick to just accept the status quo because we're like, I'm not going to change who I am. But if you want to change, the situation, you're going to have to do something different at some point. And you can change the situation for the better. And it just starts with this simple mindset shift. Okay. So no more people directed frustrations. We're going to focus on systems and on the systems that we have in place or don't have in place and get to work on fixing that because that is absolutely fixable. Okay. And I see people asking about what book it is. Yeah, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. It's a great book. I personally don't love the writing style, but some people love it. It wasn't for me, but the lessons that I pulled out of that book were absolutely outstanding. All right, so let's before we get into specifics about what you can and should be doing moving forward to make your business automatic and easy to run, we first need to look at the main reasons why 90% of party businesses aren't already operating in a way that's easy for them to run. So let's figure out what the problem is so we can get to solving it. So after conversations with hundreds of people in the party industry at this point, I would say I'm tipping over into the thousands now. There are three main reasons that I hear over and over again about why that sort of answer this question as to why their business isn't already automatic and easy to run. So the first one is they don't want to spend the money. They're more excited to spend their money on getting more gear for their service, getting that new illusion, getting that new kit of paints and brushes and all that stuff than they are to spend money on the tools that will help them unlock their time and build a bigger and better business and make their lives easier. And this is just the reality of the situation. Okay. So that's one of the reasons. Now, other people, they're willing to spend the money, but they just don't have a clue where to start. They're just not sure what tools are available. So they just keep doing things the way they've been doing it and they chug along, even if they know it isn't the best, they're just not sure what else to do about it. And then the other group is the people who are just, they feel they're not tech savvy. They're scared of technology. So they just avoid it at all costs and everything is paper and pen and a written diary. And that's what they do. So out of curiosity, those of you who are joining us tonight, do any of these apply to you? If you're being honest with yourself right now, and I'm actually moving some things around on my screen so I can see some faces now. Do any of these apply to you? Yeah, I see some hands are being raised, Karen. Yeah, so, and it's normal. Okay, so it's nothing to be ashamed of. This is all, the reason I'm able to articulate these is because after speaking with hundreds of people, I keep hearing these things over and over and over and over again. Okay, so the good news about those three things are, number one, is there are free tools or even some really great premium tools that are less than $5 a week. So if you knew that you could unlock 10 to 20 hours a week of your time and turn it into free time that you could spend however you want, would that be worth spending about $5 a week to you? I know for me, it was a no-brainer, okay? I am going to show you where to start. We're going to figure it out together tonight, okay? And then finally, you'll see that you don't have to be super tech savvy, as Lewis mentioned earlier. You don't have to be tech savvy to do all this. You leave that up to the tech nerds like me and my business partner, Adam, and other people out there who are super techy so that you can focus on doing the work you love instead. So if any of those reasons have stopped you from taking action in the past, I just want you to park those fears for now. I'm going to promise yourself, I'm going to promise me, I want you to promise everybody who's joining us tonight that you're going to continue now listening in with an open mind and put those fears away because we're going to try our best to help you get rid of them forever. Sound good? Are we good with that? All right. So now we can dig into what you could do. All right. And now it's time to get into more specific action you should take to change your situation. And we're going to get into strategies first, and then we'll talk about some tools after. And there probably isn't only one answer to this question on the screen. What can you do? Right? There's a million different directions we could tackle this at. But what I can do is I could tell you what I did. And I could tell you also the things that I've helped other people do since that has worked for them as well. So we know that this wasn't just a one-trick pony. It didn't just work for me. We've helped hundreds of other people do this similar thing, and I'll share those with you. And if it works for you, that would be awesome, okay? Because when I was in year 5 of my business, and I was at the end of my rope, right? I was ready to close up shop. I almost gave up on a business I absolutely loved, and I was left with a choice. I had three options in front of me. Option 1 was I could do that. I could call it quits. I could give up, close up shop, and move on and do something else. Option 2 was that I could accept that this is just going to be how it's going to be and continue to struggle my way through the stuff that I hated doing just so that I could keep doing the parts of my job and my business that I really loved doing. Or option three was to make some changes. So you could probably guess what I did. I made some changes. And in fact, there were three changes when I reflect back on it, because I did try a number of things, but there were three changes that really moved the needle for me, that completely changed the game. Okay. So I'll break those down for you right now. The first thing is I simplified my business. I stopped customizing for every client. I stopped letting my clients call the shots. Excuse me. I stopped offering too many options. I stopped getting distracted by the next shiny object, the next piece of equipment I wanted to buy. Um, so, oh, sorry, I seen the chat popping up. So I stopped doing all that stuff. I simplified it, um, and I just made things easier. And a great example of this is simplifying your packages and your offerings. So, if when somebody comes to you to book, it's always a whole discussion of like, well, I've got these 75 different options. What would you like to do? We're going to customize an a la carte and do everything. That's a very complicated thing. And so most party businesses are making their packages way too complicated. Or worse, they custom build every single time for every single event. You can give your clients options within a predefined framework that works for you, and it absolutely will work for them without giving them a million open-ended options to choose from. So too many options only serves to make it harder for you to do a great job. And more importantly, it actually makes it harder for your clients to choose to book you. So more options actually means less money. And to kind of prove that to you, I'll just share real quickly. Years ago, there was a really interesting study that came out of Columbia University, and it was all about this idea of like too many options and how it affects the bottom line. And so what they did was they set up a table with jams outside of an upscale grocery store in California. And it was like a sample table, right? Like, see, when you go to Costco, all the samples. So it was a table from this one jam company with different samples that people could try. And over a period of 2 consecutive Saturdays, they offered samples. And on the one day, they offered 6 options that you could taste. And on the other day, they offered 24 different flavors because this company was known for all these like weird exotic flavors that they had. So during the days where they had the 24 flavors being offered, 60% of the people that walked past the table stopped to sample the jams. So it's pretty impressive. Then on the days where they only had 6 options, actually only 40% of the people stopped to sample the jam. So far it sounds like more is better. What are you talking about, Mitch? Well, this is where things really get interesting. Of the customers who sampled from the 24 flavor table, only 3% of those people actually made a purchase and bought some of the jams. But of the customers who sampled from the 6 flavor table, 30% of them made a purchase. So when you run the numbers, imagine 100 people walk past the table, 60 would stop for 24 flavors, but only under 2 of them would actually make a purchase. Whereas when there were 6 flavors, out of the 100 people that walked past, 40 would stop, but 12 of them would make a purchase. So you could see more options drew more people in initially, which tricks us into thinking that's a good thing, but they're actually far less likely to buy because of decision fatigue and all sorts of other reasons. So if you own the jam company, what would you rather? The 6 flavor option or the 12 or the 24? Sorry, it's obvious, right? So a lot of us are kind of 24 flavoring our packages for our clients. You're making it way too complicated. So keep things simple. All right, the second thing that I did was I automated key aspects of my business, particularly the things that were repetitive, time consuming, and to be honest, the things that I just hated doing manually. So those were the things I focused on automating. And these were usually tasks that were centered around my booking, my planning, the billing, even like my staff scheduling. Like I did not enjoy any of those parts of it. So I tried to automate as much of that as I could. And then the third change I made was I put systems in place so I could say goodbye to the people-directed frustrations, as I learned from reading the book E-Myth, and I took control of the situation by creating systems and working to keep improving them over time until they were running really smoothly. Okay. So for some people, they hear those 3 changes I made and they're like already like, no, this is complicated, forget it. And they get hung up, especially on the automations piece. But honestly, it really doesn't need to be that complicated. And so I'm going to walk you through the process we use with our clients. This is the reason, this process is going to help you just map out a plan, okay? Because the reason most of us never get around to doing anything is because the task feels too daunting. So even if you agreed with me that you should also simplify, you should also automate, you should also systematize your entertainment business, you're going to be thinking, well, I don't know how to do any of that. And then you get stressed and your brain shuts down and it just moves on to something it'd rather be thinking about and it ignores this part, right? So the key here is just getting started. That is the key. It reminds me of, okay, the very first car I had was a 12-year-old gray K car by Chrysler, right? Like, so for those of you who remember K cars, it was like a box with wheels. That's all it was. And I was just happy to have any vehicle that could get me from one place to another. But most of the time, this car would stall somewhere along the way. And when it stalled, I'd have to get out of the car and push it to the side of the road so I could go find a payphone and call for help. But the hardest part of pushing that stalled car, the hardest part was always the first push. Once I could get some momentum going, it was easier. Even though it was the same car I was pushing, just getting started was the hardest part. And getting out from all the extra work you're currently doing in your entertainment business is exactly the same. So this simple method, this EAD method, is going to help give you that first push. Okay. So E stands for eliminate. This means you want to eliminate all the unnecessary steps in your current process across your entire business. Okay, so to give you some ideas of what I mean by that, it could be simple extra steps you're taking while booking the client in. For example, extra steps to transfer the same info into multiple locations, right? Like some people will start with handwritten notes and they'll transfer it to a digital calendar like Google Calendar, and then they'll copy paste that info into some other system like a spreadsheet or a billing system or maybe a staff scheduling system. So I'd be looking to eliminate all these little extra entry points, these extra little steps you have to take with the same bits of information. Rewriting emails over and over and over again. You shouldn't have to write the same email over and over. Or maybe you're guilty of this, because I know I was. A request comes in from a client, and then you scroll through your inbox looking for the last client that had a similar question, and then you copy and paste that response that you sent them, and hopefully you remember to replace the name and the dates and all that, or it ends up being this embarrassing situation. This is all a huge waste of time and energy. So I want you eliminating things like that. Having to go back and forth too much with your clients. When a new client comes to us, this is usually the first thing we help them with. Too often, entertainers have way too many touch points in their booking process with their clients. So it's great to be in touch with your clients, and I'm actually a huge fan of over communicating, but it's frustrating for both you and your client if the process feels clumsy and cumbersome. So it should not take 4 messages back and forth just to pin down event details. That should be like a 2 message process max. So look for ways to cut the number of messages and calls and all these things that you're doing that you need to send to your client down for each event. Okay. Or it could be changes like simplifying your packages, like we talked about earlier, like as the jam example helped illustrate for us. All right, so that was E. That's the E for EAD. The next part is A. This stands for automate. So I want you to consider automating things like client notifications. So for example, booking request is received. You get a notification about that, or they get a notification about it. They made payment. You want to send them a notification. You want to send a pre-event reminder notification like, hey, I'm going to be there. Don't stress. And you want to do it before they start freaking out and start wasting your time calling you. Or a post-event follow-up to say thank you and leave us a review and all this stuff. All that stuff could be automated. It should be automated. If you're doing it manually, you are wasting time. Collecting event data and adding it to your calendar. This should be automated. So this includes like your client actually making a request to you. It should automatically go into your calendar, but it also includes your access to critical information in general. Like how easily can you see your week or your month at a glance? How easily can you see which of your packages is performing best and so on, right? Another thing to automate is payment tracking. What's owed? What's been received? It could be even getting clients to confirm or paying their deposits. All of this stuff could be automated. All right. Thinking outside of that, setting up pre-authorized payments for your own bills so that you only have to go and check to make sure everything was right. You don't have to worry about paying each bill on time, those kinds of things. Okay. So I'd be looking to automate anything in the process that I could automate. And then finally, D stands for delegate, or if you don't have a team, it might be outsourcing as well. I know for a lot of people, I know for me in year 5 of my business, delegating felt impossible because I was just swimming in an ocean of work. But what you'll find is that when you get stuff under control, you'll actually be in a place to delegate things because the tasks themselves, you've made them easier by eliminating and automating stuff. And you'll finally actually have the time because you've unlocked your own time to sit down and set these tasks up properly so that when you delegate it to someone else, you're giving them all the resources and training that they need. So things to delegate, consider things like answering the phones, packing any of your gear, recruiting staff, scheduling staff, social media posting, designing your website. You should not be doing your website on your own. Unless you are a web designer, I am a strong believer in getting a pro to do it, but that's a whole other discussion. Okay. So that's the EAD method. And honestly, we have an entire 1 hour workshop on just this method, but I want to just break down for you like how I go through this process. Because, you know, I shared with you what it covers, but how do you do all this? So in a nutshell, here's what you do. First, you draw a flow chart of your entire booking process. I know a lot of people in our industry are very creative people, very visual people, and I find this works really well. So we literally draw a flow chart from client requests a date all the way through to what you do. Then I put the notes on a post-it. I check my availability. If I'm available, I do this. If I'm not, I do that. And map out the entire process right from a request comes in all the way through to you've run the event, you said thank you to the client, and so on, right? You could even make a separate list of any tasks that are outside of the event that you do on a regular basis, okay? Then the first thing you do is you look at this, you take a step back, you look at it, and you're just looking for steps you feel can and should be eliminated, and just put a little X on them. That's it. You don't even need to know how you're going to eliminate it. You're just looking at it and saying, you know what, maybe I don't need to write it on a post-it note before I then type it into my Google Calendar. X, right? You're just identifying things you feel should be eliminated. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to do the same thing, but looking for any steps you believe can and should be automated. You might not know what tools will do it. You might not know how to do it, but you're just identifying stuff. So you'll circle those in a specific color. And now you'll say, okay, great. These are the steps that should be automated. And then lastly, you're going to do the same thing again, looking for steps that you feel can be delegated or outsourced. And now you'll have identified things that you're going to eliminate. You've identified things you feel a computer should do for you. You've identified stuff you're going to let staff on your team or some outsourced professional do for you. And whatever's left is the stuff you absolutely feel that you must personally do. So you go and you look at those things. You say, do I really need to do these? And you really evaluate that. Okay. So now what you're left is you have this visual representation of all the changes you want to make in your business. This is the first push of your stalled car with your business. Okay. Just identifying this is like that first push. And it only takes about 30 minutes to do this process. And I highly, highly encourage you to do it. So I'm going to actually stop right here and I'm going to ask you all to take action. And I'm pulling up the camera stuff like so you can see your faces. I'm going to pull out your phone or whatever calendar you use. And I want you to pick a date sometime in the next 3 weeks. I'm giving you a huge window of opportunity to block off just 30 minutes where you are going to just go through that process for your business. Just block off 30 minutes. Do it now. Commit to yourself that you're going to make it happen. Just write EAD for my business. Block off 30 minutes and you have a 3-week window to choose from. And when you've done that, come back to our chat and just write in there, it's in the calendar or something like that. So I know you've taken action. You're going to be held accountable by the whole group here because we see it and we're holding each other accountable to make sure we're going to make things happen. Okay. So we're going to wait a second here. I'm going to let you guys do this. I'll take a sip of water while I wait. And once you've done it, you're right. It's in the calendar, so we know. And then we're going to move on. I'm waiting until at least one person has committed to doing this. You don't have to have your camera on, but this one you got to do. Amazing. Thank you, April. Awesome, Meredith. Excellent. And by the way, for all of you here, I won't know if you're lying to me. So just write in the calendar. I won't know. You'll know, but I won't know. But I just want to know that you're really going to take some action because that is the goal. Is like it's great to join a workshop, but we want to know that you're taking action to help improve your situation. Amazing. All right. That's enough for me. Love it. Love it. See, done. Oh, Emily telling us the date and everything. Love it. Okay. So now let's keep going. We're going to talk about automation. It looks like somebody drew on our screen a little bit, so hopefully those lines aren't bothering everybody. I don't know how to get rid of that stuff, but it's all good. So we're going to talk about automation. Automation is the single most powerful change that you can make for your business, for not just your business, but for yourself. When I equipped my team and my business with the right software that automated the key aspects of our business, honestly, the game completely changed. Because for in my case, I had a larger team. So it was about an investment of about $15 per week. And I have a computer science background. I was also trying to build stuff on my own. But that $15 a week investment helped me reduce my personal workload by 20 hours a week. I am not exaggerating. 20 hours a week were wiped off my calendar. It was glorious. And in addition to that, I had a team of staff and I was able to unload many of their tasks to technology, freeing up their time and their minds and their creativity and their energy to do all sorts of amazing things for my business. And that's when business really started booming. And that small investment was not just freeing up time, it was actually saving me a boatload of money. Not to mention all the problems that we used to deal with because of human error and all this other stuff were gone. We were avoiding all these things. Now, I had looked into a lot of systems. I tried hacking together multiple free tools. And in the end, finding the right system was like lifting 1,000-pound weight off my shoulders. So it's the relief that you feel when you get this dialed in. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, I think Lewis was doing a really good job of describing his experience earlier. Plus, everything about my business was not just easier for me, but it was actually more professional. And this finally gave me the confidence I needed to actually finally raise my prices, which was long overdue. So we're quickly going to take a minute now to dispel some of the big myths I hear over and over again from party business owners. In particular, our industry has been extremely technology adverse for far too long. And I keep hearing these same two myths over and over again. So myth number one is some version of this. My business relies on a personal touch and automation is just not going to work for me, right? This personal touch. I hear this all the time, right? And in response to this, I want to ask a question of the group. What email is the least personal email of them all? Like of all the emails that might get sent to your clients, what is the least personal email you could possibly think of? How would you describe it? What would it be? Because I have my answer for it, and I think it might be different than some of your answers. So I'll be curious to hear if anybody has any guesses before I spill the beans on this one. An info email from Meredith, yeah. Asking for info like location basic facts. Yeah, these are good. In my opinion, the least the least personal email you could possibly send as a children's entertainment business is the email that you forgot to send. So just because an email is automated, it doesn't mean it has to feel like a robot wrote it, but it will mean that it goes out and it goes out on time and it goes out reliably. You could, there's only so many times you could tell a client that I don't know how it's still sitting in my drafts folder, right? So you can make automated emails feel highly personal. And in fact, with the right tools, you could have these emails automatically inserting these highly personalized details, like the date and the time and the location, even the guest of honor's first name. There's also something that we like to call semi-automation. And this is when you take a task. So for some tasks, I understand automation isn't going to work. But semi-automation is when you take a task that absolutely does require a qualified human being to review. And I know like people are getting excited about ChatGPT, but AI could only get us so far. There are things in our business and in our industry specifically that humans must do. But what semi-automation allows you to do is you have the systems and technology in place that makes completing those tasks take only a few seconds instead of hours, which is what it's currently taking a lot of people. And this gives you a chance to intervene with the more personal stuff if and when you feel it's necessary. I wanted to show you some examples, though, of automated emails that are highly personalized. So here's an example of a pre-scripted email for use with automation in a software tool called Party Pro Manager. And as you can see here, I've highlighted it. We make it highly personalized using placeholders that with the system's going to automatically replace with specific details that we already know about that client. So we have here, it's entering a first name and a child's first name and the day of the week and the date. And this looks like a person, a human wrote this email, right? Because a human did write it. They just created the template that's going to be used over and over and over again. So here's what that email looks like when the recipient receives it. And you see there, it says, "Hi, Michelle. Confirmation for Sarah's magic party on Sunday, September 19th. There's Sarah's name again in the link. Or if you prefer, a tool like this one will even let you do it where it doesn't just like look like plain text. You could have your color scheme and your logo and all that kind of fun stuff and still have it super highly personalized with all those little bits of their information right in there. Okay. So um, just because it's automated does not mean that it is going to be impersonal. All right. So just wanted to dispel that myth. All right. Myth number two. This one usually looks something like this. My booking and my scheduling process requires too many complex decisions and too many customizations and too many options for the clients. So automation just won't work for me. So we're going to tackle this one in reverse order. Okay, so let's first tackle the issue about the customizations and the options for the clients. Well, we already talked about that earlier, and we were talking about how important it is to keep your packages simple, not just because it's easier, but also because it'll make you more money. So let's put that half of it, the customization half of it, aside for a second. Now, in terms of the complex decision making, I actually agree with you on this one. So I totally hear you on this one. This is especially true for people who run mobile, like we come to you party services. So if you are a we come to you kind of service, there are so many factors involved in determining if you're available as compared to a venue that just has a room and they have time slots and that's it, right? So when you are a we come to you service, you've got things like other gigs that are already booked that day. You've got travel time, lunch breaks. You might have equipment shifts with other people, and so on and so on and so on. There's all these factors, right? But this is where semi-automation that I talked about before comes into play. So remember, semi-automation is when you take a task that absolutely does require a qualified human to review it or intervene, but you have systems and technology in place that makes completing the task take a few seconds instead of hours and hours and hours. Okay, so that's to dispel this myth. And I am going to show you live demos of how this could all work for you. So before we show the demo, let's talk about the typical booking process that people seem to go through. And here's what it seems to typically, like the typical booking process seems to look like. First, the client makes a request, then you check your availability, we get event details, clients, then you get some confirmation or contract process in place, you plan the event and the schedule, your staff if you have, you want to collect payments next, you're going to send some reminder to the client that you're coming, you run the gig, and then maybe you send a follow-up afterwards. And some of the steps might happen for you in a slightly different order, and that's fine. But I believe that this flow chart captures the essence of 99% of people's process. But the thing is, most people are doing all or most of these steps the manual and hard way. And that means that there are steps that are having to repeat many times over and over and over again, even with the same client. And while each time you do it, it may be just like a little bit annoying and it feels like it's not such a big deal. Let's explore the actual impact of this for a second, okay? So we're going to take the get event details step as an example. Imagine every time you reach out to a client to get some details that you need from them, right? It only takes you about 2 minutes. So I'm putting 2 minutes up on the board there. But we all know what happens, right? You send them an email with like 4 questions, and somehow they reply only answering the first and the fourth email, missing the 2 in the middle. Like it always puzzled me how people could answer the bookending questions and not answer the 2 in between, but I digress. So now you need to reply and thank them for the info they provided, remind them that you're still missing some info. Then they ghost you for a few days. You reach out again. Eventually, you get one more detail sent your way. You thank them again, manually add it to your Google Calendar if you remember to do it. Then you reach out again for the final detail. So let's imagine that in this scenario, you only had to go back and forth with the client about 4 times. So 2 minutes, 4 times, that's about 8 minutes per client. So again, 8 minutes, it doesn't sound so bad. But if you have 30 clients in a month and you're doing the same thing with all 30 of them, that's 8 minutes times 30 clients. That's 4 hours of your life just in that month. And that is only for getting the event details. We haven't talked about getting them to sign their confirmation, getting them to pay their deposit, getting them to pay their final balance and all these other things. And the next thing you know, it adds up and your life is overrun by these administrative tasks instead of doing the stuff you love doing. And this is why we say the manual way is the hard way of doing things. And if we dig deeper, it's also a more annoying process, not just for you, but for your clients too. Even though it's their fault it's happening, it's annoying for them. And then they start looking at you as a difficult company to work with. And why isn't this smoother and all this stuff, right? But there is a solution, and that is to use the right tools to automate some of the key steps in your booking and your planning and your billing and all those processes. And when you use the right tools, what's really, really cool is you can force the function. And what I mean by force the function is, you remember earlier I said you're not going to retrain all your clients. But if you have the right tools in place, you could force them to take the right actions at the right time, saving themselves from the annoying back and forth that neither of you want, even though they're causing it. Okay. So we're going to explore this step by step. If this sounds good to you, we're going to explore this step by step, talk about how you could automate each of these steps, what tools exist for each one of these steps. I'll show you a demo of the tool that I love. I am biased, I'll admit it, but I will show you a demo of that tool as well. And I'm going to try and move quickly now because I'm just keeping an eye on the clock here, and I see, time is getting away from us here. So the first step is the client request step. So this is them making a request to you. This is a step you should be fully automating with the right tools. There are tools that exist that will allow you to semi-automate this, right? Even a basic contact form on your website is a semi-automation because you're not manually receiving the information and writing it down and then putting it into the computer. You could receive it by email. Or Wix forms, a little bit fancier than a basic contact form, still a semi-automated one. Jot forms, even more fancy than Wix forms. It's a really cool form tool, and it allows you to semi-automate this process. Or a tool like Party Pro Manager, which I will show you a live demo in a second. You can actually fully automate this process, collect all the info you require, have an instant email sent to your client confirming that you received it with all the details they shared with you right there in the email. And all the info is tentatively saved right into your calendar, ready for your review, so you can decide if this is a gig you want or not. Okay, so that's the first step. The second step is checking the availability. Now, this is a step I am begging you. I'm seeing a trend of people trying to do this. Do not fully automate the checking availability step. People I see are putting on their website, it's like literally listing the dates and times they are available. The client's like clicking it and booking it instantly and paying instantly. It sounds appealing. It sounds like something that would be good. I am a person who is obsessed with the idea of automation, and I'm begging you not to automate this one. This is where semi-automation comes into play. First of all, there's too many complex factors. We already talked about it: travel time, breaks, staff availability, other gigs you might have, and so on. The second thing is you will actually lose gigs by offering this. You will not get as many gigs if you have a instant booking platform on your website. Imagine a client comes to you looking for Sunday at 1 p.m., but you aren't currently available at that time according to your scheduling system. And that's what's being displayed on your website. You're not available Sunday at 1. So for whatever reason. So maybe you have like a conflicting booking or the default buffer time between gigs, whatever the reason might be that the system doesn't know. So the client's going to look at that and they're probably just going to move on to your competitor if they don't see the exact time that they want. And they're going to bounce off your website and they're gone. And you never even got the opportunity to know that they even wanted you at that time. So you don't get a chance to review what's possible. Maybe if you had a discussion with them, you'd be able to shift the time from 1 to 12:30. That would have worked for both of you. Maybe you could reach out to your staff to see if anybody who previously said they were unavailable is now available. Maybe the gig is a huge corporate gig that you don't want to pass up because you have a smaller gig already booked, and you might want to subcontract the smaller gig so you could take on this bigger gig. All these possibilities exist, but you would never get that chance because that client would have just left your website, right? Plus, you wouldn't have collected their contact info to be able to stay in touch with them for the future for possible work down the road, all right? So this is a huge, huge thing, and we're seeing people trying it, and I'm telling you, we've tested it. It does not work. Instead, what we want you to do is semi-automate this step, right? So with the right tools, it's made quick and easy, and of course, Party Pro Manager will help you do this too, and I will show you how, okay? The next step is getting the event details. We're going to fully automate this with the right tools. Again, Wix forms, Jot forms, could semi-automate it, but a tool like Party Pro Manager will fully automate it. It'll have preset email templates ready to request the information. It forces your client to provide all the info that you need. No more back and forth begging for information. And it'll have the information instantly ready for you to handle confirmations or staff scheduling. It's just ready to go. Okay. The next step is client confirmations. So, and after this one, I think I'll show you a bit of a demo. We want you to fully automate this step, the confirmation process, the contract process. So you can semi-automate it with a simple email, get people to respond. You keep track of it in your mind or on some spreadsheet. Basic forms will do the same thing. Even tools like DocuSign are really cool contract forms, contracting tools. They're very sophisticated for the purpose of contracts, highly effective, but it's a semi-automated solution because it doesn't connect to the other parts in your system. Or Party Pro Manager will help you fully automate this step. It'll create automatically generated confirmation forms that are just ready to go. Instant email notifications to you, to your clients, and instantly ready to handle the billing and payments. Okay, so I'm going to pause there on the flow here, the process, and I'm going to bring in a quick sample just to show you a little bit about what is possible here. Okay, so let's first, we're going to start with this. So hopefully everybody can still see my screen. Just give me a thumbs up in the video if you're still seeing the screen and all is good. All right, awesome. Thank you, Fred. All right, so this is just a fake website. I want you to imagine that this is your website here. Okay, so this one here that you're looking at happens to be built on WordPress, a fake website for this Born to Party company. All right, so anywhere you see these buttons, get an instant quote, book now. You could have a link, a text-based link for it. That's what connects to Party Pro Manager. So this is your website, but then when they click it, your clients will it'll load up your Party Pro Manager booking form. So now what's layered on top of your website here is Party Pro Manager at work. Okay, so you don't have to do anything on your website. We give you like one line of code, and now all of a sudden you can create these links that pop up these forms wherever you want. So wherever they are on the page, they don't have to leave that page. The form just shows up right on top of wherever they were. Okay, and then they could fill in the form. And as you can see, it's a very inviting. It'll be branded, your colors and everything. It doesn't look overwhelming. All we're asking is your name, your email, and the occasion type, and you're good to go. Okay. And then it'll guide them through the steps. Now, I do have a pre-filled one, so you don't have to watch me filling out this form. So let me pull that one in here. So here we are. We have a pre-filled version of this form. Sorry, just making sure my screen is good here. All right, so here's a pre-filled form. So we have this client, Emily Carson. She continues through. She's made her selections on the service, the package she wants. She's then presented with these add-ons and upsells. Like if I show you what this looks like. So she'll be presented with add-ons and upsells or options and customizations. So again, you can offer customizations, but we don't want to overwhelm people with all the million choices until it's relevant. Here's an add-on offer where they could add a balloon twister for $95. And automatically, if you want it to, it'll build a quote in the margins here as they go. So as they add things, it's automatically adjusting the price, okay? So click done, done. And they're just going through the process in a wizard-like format, step by step. It's all really easy for them. Put in the details of where this is going to be, any other information I need to know, and then they click submit, and they're done. They have now filled out the form, and the request comes to you. They get a confirmation. This person actually will instantly get an email notification saying, we got your request, and you could script what you want that email to say, and it sends them the request with all the information they have already submitted to you, okay? And I could show you actually, if you want to see it, here's that email. Look, we can see it just came through and the client gets it here. And there's the email with all the details and it looks fantastic. Okay. So the client has already done this. Now, behind the scenes, what is happening is that request has come into my Party Pro Manager admin account. So I could see all the requests that have come in. And here it is right at the top of the list, Emily Carson, unprocessed. I could click into this gig. I could first of all preview it, but I could click into the gig and I could look over all the details. I could update the pricing if I want to. So it says here, some of the pricing is different than what the defaults are. So it's asking me because they had those supplements. I'm going to drop that price in. I'm going to update the deposit. Everything is happening automatically here. And once I'm happy with it, I could email this client and I could say, yeah, we're good. We're available. But maybe I don't know if I'm available yet. I want to check first. So I have a few ways I could do it. First way is I could go to staffing, and I could go to add a staff, and I could see my list of staff here and who's available, what their availability is, other gigs they're already booked for on that day. And I could see Pamela's in Springfield. This event is also in the Springfield area. So I'm going to assign it to her. And I'm going to click OK. And then I could assign it to Pamela. So we'll do that, some of that afterwards. Okay, I'll show you some of that stuff. The other way I could check my availability is I could go to my calendar view and I could see my calendar, whether I want to look at it on a monthly view and everything is color coordinated so you know what the status is, or maybe I want to look at the week planner view, which gives me more information. So I have all the gigs here at the top, plus all my staff below. So I could quickly see who's available, who isn't for a given gig on any given day. And once I'm ready, I could go in there and confirm with the client. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, yes, we're available to Emily. I'm going to change the status of this gig to processing. And I'm going to go email her. And all I'm going to do to email her is I'm going to click here and I'm going to choose my email script that says we are available. So I choose it. It's going to drop the text of that email in. Look, it already put her name. It put the date and time of her gig. Everything is just automatically happening. It's even going to drop a special link in here that allows her to go and finalize the gig and pay her deposit and everything. I'm going to send that off, and then boom, Emily's now been notified that I'm available. And what she's going to receive is a link to her finalization form. This is the confirmation process that she goes through with Party Pro Manager. Okay, so I am going to bring that into the screen here for you. So this is the finalization form. This is the confirmation process that the client goes through. Okay, so Emily will receive this by email from us because I sent that email already. She'll click on the link and it's going to already pre-fill all the information I already know about her gig. However, if I was missing a required field, let's say I didn't know the city or I didn't know her phone number and I have that as something that's required, it will not let her continue to book this gig without just filling in those details. It's going to require her to confirm that the details are correct. It's going to require her to agree to my terms and conditions, which just simply links to a page, a hidden page on my website that has all my terms and conditions listed. And it's also going to bring her immediately to the next step to make her deposit payment because that's how I have it set up. You don't have to. You're not required to ask for a deposit at this stage, but you can if you want. You could even present them with different payment options. So Square, PayPal, bank transfer. So I'm going to go Square. She's going to click finalize and continue. So Emily has now confirmed for me that we're a go. She's instantly been brought now to the page where she's going to make her payment. Now I want to show you something really cool. On the back end, if I come back in here, and I'm going to go back to the events page, and it refreshed itself, and look at what happened to Emily. Now it says awaiting deposit. I had set it to processing, but it automatically knows that she just clicked finalize, but she hasn't paid her deposit. If she skips out on me here, I have it flagged as somebody who's awaiting a deposit. In fact, I could set up automated emails that say, we're awaiting your deposit. All that stuff could be automated, but she can make her payment here. Now, let's say for whatever reason, Emily called me and she said, you know what, I live next door. I'm going to come with cash. All right, no problem. So I'll go to the payment area. I'm going to say, okay, she came in with the cash. She paid me the deposit of $71.25, and she paid with cash. And if there's a reference number or anything like that with cash, there wouldn't be, I could set that up. And then boom, I could save this. Because I have certain automation set up in the system, it automatically says, do you want to switch the status of this to booking secured now? Do you want to send the email that says we received your deposit? I'm going to say, yeah, do both of those things. I didn't have to lift a finger. That was semi-automation right there at play, right? It required human intervention for me to say, yeah, I got cash this time. Had I been paid online, it would automatically do all this stuff because the system knows to just do it. But because I did it manually, it says, well, do you want me to do all these other things for you now? I'm like, yeah, do all those things. So I click the button and it is done. Now here's the super, super cool thing. She has now paid her deposit. Remember, when she left off here, she left on the deposit screen. If she comes back to this link, because I could just keep sharing that same link with her, the system is smart enough to know where she left off. So because I've now set it as deposit received and I set it as booking secured, it's going to tell her, good news, your booking's secured. Everything's finalized, secured, and your final balance of $213 is due on such and such a date. Whenever you're ready, just click here to proceed to payment. And I could just keep sending her the same link over and over and over again to get my confirmation, to get my deposit paid, to get my final balance collected. Okay, so that was a super quick demo I wanted to show you of some of this stuff. We'll come back to some of this in just a second, all right? So that's how we are automating and semi-automating all four of those steps. In fact, I went beyond most of those steps. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to plan the event. You're going to schedule the staff. We want you using semi-automation here. Maybe one day we're going to get to a point where we could fully automate scheduling staff in for those of you who have a team of staff. But I don't feel the technology is quite there yet. We want a human to intervene because just because someone is available doesn't mean they're the best person to represent your team on that particular gig for that particular skill that's required. So we have the tools in place to make it super easy for you to add your staff. It requires input from a qualified human, but tools to consider here, well, Party Pro Manager, Google Calendar, When I Work is another like staff scheduling tool, which is a cool one. Even an Excel spreadsheet could do the job. But again, because Party Pro Manager does all the other steps all fully integrated, it gives you a leg up because there's less copy and pasting. Next is collecting the payments. You actually already saw me do that step, but you could fully automate this. Of course, you could semi-automate it by sending invoices by PayPal or Square. But with Party Pro Manager, it actually integrates directly with your PayPal and Square account. We don't charge processing fees. We just connect you to the payment processors you're already using. So we're not going to charge you on top of it. It will then offer those embedded options right within the confirmation process, as you just saw, and then it'll send automated email reminders as needed based on how you have it set up, okay? So next step is sending the reminder. Again, this should be fully automated. You could do that with emailing and messaging using semi-automation. Google Calendar could provide some semi-automation too if you set alerts on the Google Calendar. But Party Pro Manager will automate this process. It'll send automated email reminders to your clients. You could set the schedule on that. They'll be highly personalized, preset email templates that you can manipulate, but we'll supply you with some emails as well. The next part is running the event. So that's the fun part. You can't automate it. We can't send robots out to do your job. We don't even want to. This is the fun stuff. And then finally, sending a follow-up event, just like that pre-event confirmation. This should be fully automated. You could use emailing and messaging. You could use Google Calendars to semi-automate it, but we feel that there's better options with Party Pro Manager. You'll send automated follow-up messages using the highly personalized preset email template, so you never write the same email again. Now, when you look at all the steps, so now I've color-coded it. Pink is you could fully automate it. Green is I feel you could only semi-automate it. But when you look at all the steps, we're actually only left with a single step that cannot be made automatic and easy, and that's running your event. So the cool thing is when you use the right tools that have been built specifically for our industry, the entire process gets further simplified, making it even easier for you and your clients. So this is what that looks like. And what's happened here is I did remove the running the event step from this flow, but what you could see is the rest of the steps are greatly reduced because with the right tools, we could combine steps in a way that makes perfect sense for our industry, right? When you aren't trying to like hack a system or worse, like a collection of different tools to work in a way that they weren't meant to be used, you could actually make the entire process way more automatic, way easier, right? So just to really quickly show you, I'm going to bring back my demo screen. Give me 1 second here. Let's see if I can find it. All right, so let me pull those back in here. And let's go, I got the Zoom toolbar in my way. I'm just waiting for it to slide out of my view so I could get to the tabs here. All right, so we're gonna go back in. I just wanted to show you like some of the planning stuff, right? So I started to do it. I got ahead of myself before. If I wanted to add staff to that gig, I click here, add staff. I could see all the gigs my different staff are booked into, and I could see their availability that they've already submitted to me. So I could add Pamela, click OK. I could set her up as a waiting confirmation. I could determine her role, her call time. I could add a gig fee. I could do all this stuff, but then I could just click save and send. Pamela is now notified. And actually, she has access to her own staff portal. And because we're short on time, I'm not going to show you the demo of the staff portal, but in her staff portal, she could log in and see her gigs, accept and decline the gigs that you've invited her to. She could update her schedule of availability. You could give her access to certain training tools and links and stuff like that too. It's like really cool stuff on that end. I wanted to show you some more of the advanced stuff too. There's autopilot where you could set up these automation tool rules. So, here I have send the pre-event reminder if the booking is secured or the balance is settled. Otherwise, don't send it and send it 3 days before the event. Send the post-event follow-up 1 day after the event, again, if it was secured or balance settled. So you create all these rules and these flows so that it could go through. And if the conditions aren't satisfied, a note will appear here telling you that it's going to be skipped. Okay, so pull this out. All right, so there are tons of different tools, and different tools will cover different aspects of that booking flow. And I tried to sort of outline for you some of the tools, and you could grab a screenshot of this. I think I included this in my notes as well. So, all the different tools that I mentioned are all on that chart. But what you will see is like Party Pro Manager covers you end to end. And so, again, I know I am biased, but it is a tool that is out there helping people save tons of time every single day, literally cutting their admin work in half. You saw me do it in front of your eyes. And what's crazy is I didn't spend a lot of time doing the demo for you because most of the work just kind of happens behind the scenes automatically. I don't have to do the work, right? And you saw me being both the client and the business in this case. So most of the work is just happening automatically for you. But I am biased, so I don't need to take my word for it. We are hearing constantly getting feedback from users telling us how having the right system in place has changed our lives. So whether you use Party Pro Manager or a similar tool that's equally effective, if you could find one, it will be life changing for you, just like Eleanor told us it was for her. And in fact, I get messages like this all the time. Like Maddie told us that she was saving so much time she wasn't sure how she ever managed before having it. Or Amanda, who reported to us that she was saving 20 hours a week in her admin work just by streamlining her processes. And we get other people telling us how it's cut their anxiety in half just because they feel more organized because of Party Pro Manager. And finally, saying goodbye to the people directed frustrations and the pesky grunt work that they hate doing. So I want you to think about what you could do with all that extra time, all that extra energy. So if you're interested, and again, I am biased, so I encourage you to look into not just Party Pro Manager, but other tools. But if you are interested in exploring Party Pro Manager, because this one tool can cut your admin work in half, it'll eliminate some stress. It'll help bring everything under one roof, whether it's booking, planning, billing, staff scheduling. Basically, you connect it to your website, as you saw, I showed you in the demo, and then it handles your booking requests. It handles the automated responses to clients. It allows you to do the event planning with just a few button clicks instead of banging your head against the wall. You get client confirmations. You could, I mean, you saw a pretty good display of what is possible, right? You could collect the missing details. You could force the function with your clients. And I wish I could have shown you more in my demo, but as I said, most of the work just kind of happens auto magically behind the scenes. So what used to take you hours to do each week is literally reduced down to a few minutes, and it's done better, and you look more professional. And for those of you with teams of staff, like you saw, the same system is used to organize your team and do your staff scheduling and make all that stuff even easier. Okay. Now, this link that you see on the screen or the QR code, www.partypromanager.com/Kidvention. This is a special link we set up for Lewis and his people. Because with that, when you use that link, I've set it up to actually automatically, I won't do it manually, it's going to automatically also send you a special emails template pack. It's a PDF with 15 different email scripts every party business should be using to run their business. You get those just by starting a free trial with us. Whether you use the product in the end or not, keep the PDF, it's yours. Okay. And that will make your life easier. And in chatting with Lewis before we started, he was telling me actually that he has plans for a workshop and a separate email template pack of his email scripts that work really, really well for him that he's willing to share with any of the Capital Conventioners that use this particular link. The only way we could track it is by you using this link. This is how Lewis will know to give you that extra freebie. Okay. So Lewis, if there was anything, I don't know if there was anything you wanted to elaborate on that front before I switch the slide.
Yeah,
Let me know if
no, that's exactly right. Is that I have a sales system that I do myself that helps me close more gigs, that helps me as I get the leads in, a higher percentage of people I can actually close them. And it's a system that I use, and I have taken my system and integrated it into your system. And so between the two of them, they work really well together. And so those are basically a template system that for the people that do sign up, I'm going to share that. We'll do a separate workshop where I'll teach you this sales system. So yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah. And so, David, I see, thank you, Lewis, for adding that. David, I see your question about your website being done with templates and you can't add code. That's no problem. In that case, what you'll do is, as long as you could add a link, like a button link on your website, you'll just have it open on a separate tab because we host all these things on our server so you don't have to worry about the tech side of it so that it's reliable and all that. So we do have some users in a situation like you, instead of having the fancy pop-up version, it just opens the booking form in a new tab and then you're all set. Okay. So,
Thank
like
you.
I've said, you don't have to go with Party Pro Manager. And in fact, I really encourage you to explore your options because it's a huge decision and we want you to feel confident knowing that it was the right decision for you because it's your booking process and it's your client experience and that stuff is incredibly important. So, what I'm going to quickly go through next and then we're going to wrap things up, okay? Because we're definitely going to go over schedule. Uh, but what I'm going to go through now is just, a checklist for you whether you're evaluating Party Pro Manager or you're evaluating some other system, what are the things you absolutely want to make sure the system does for you to make sure it really works for you and your needs? Okay. So the first thing is you want to know that the booking forms, the request forms are optimized, that they're optimized to convert visitors into sales. And that means that they collect all the information you need without being clunky and overwhelming for your clients, right? It should present add-ons and upsells and options at just the right moment so your clients aren't overwhelmed and leave your website. Um, a non-optimized form is what we often see in our industry, unfortunately. And these usually look like a visitor's presented with like a bajillion questions on a single screen and it scares them off. Or the converse problem is not enough questions, which leads to tons of extra back and forth for you and the client, which frustrates everyone. So you want to have an optimized form that gets all the info, but does it in a way that's not visually overwhelming or the experience doesn't feel quite right. So you saw ours very wizard like. It just asks a very easy question. Then they answer the next very easy question. Before they know it, they've gone through a whole series of very easy questions. They may as well just finish the whole form, right? So, and it's important to note that this goes well beyond time saving. This one thing is it could be the difference between getting the gig or not even getting the request in the first place. Okay. The next thing on your checklist is that it should eliminate unnecessary manual entry. Not all software solutions are created equally. So you want to look for ones that help you eliminate unnecessary manual entry. For example, if you're using a system like Google Calendar, but then you have to copy the data from the calendar into a spreadsheet, and then you got to copy it again into a billing system, then you copy it again to a staff scheduling system. This becomes a lot of extra steps. It becomes very time consuming, very tedious, and very prone to human error. If the client makes a change and you're going to remember to change it in all 5 to 7 spots. So you want it so that everything's streamlined. You fix it in one spot and boom, your staff, your client, everybody's on the same page. Okay. The next thing on your checklist is that it should enable you to send highly personalized messages to one or many clients in seconds. And in some cases, it'll even send it automatically for you without you ever even doing anything. Okay. So that is a really important piece, but it's that highly personalized piece that's important because that's when you can't personalize, that's when automation starts to feel like automation and people start getting turned off. Um, it should be able to handle your billing on autopilot. It should feel smooth and seamless and intuitive, and you don't even have to think about it, right? So we don't want it being hard for your client to give you their money. That should be the easiest thing they ever have to do. And we don't want to make it hard for you to track whether you've gotten the money or did you ask for the money. This stuff should all be happening automatically. It should make it simple for you to make scheduling decisions on the fly, even if you have a team of staff or subcontractors, as you saw me demonstrate. And and I do want to point out we've talked about not automating the scheduling process. Don't go fully automatic. Don't go with a one-step booking process where a client lands on your website. I just want to reiterate this point that you don't want them landing on your website, seeing all your availability and making their decision without ever interacting. You want that two-step booking process. I know I love eliminating steps, but not steps that lose money for me. So I am big on elimination, but I'm also really big on optimizing the closing ratio that like Lewis was just talking about, and optimizing the value of every client. And if I can't even get them in my like bring them into my net, I have no chance. Okay. All right. And then and then that's it. That's your checklist. So a quick recap of everything we talked about, and then I'll give you that link again for all the notes. We talked about how to reframe your people-directed frustrations into system-directed frustrations. We talked about the EAD method to cut admin work in half. In fact, you put it in your calendar and you made a promise to yourself that you're going to spend 30 minutes doing that so you can get that car moving. We talked about big myths that exist in our industry around automation, and we debunked those myths. We talked about how to make the entire booking process, the entire step, the entire flow automatic and easy with the exception of running the actual event. We talked about tools that will help you do all of this, like Party Pro Manager and some of the other tools that I shared with you. And we talked about the checklist that you need to go through in order to evaluate if a tool is really going to be a tool that's really going to move the needle for you. So that's everything we talked about. We did it as quickly as we could. I appreciate you spending all this time with us. And now you have a choice to make. So you have the same decision to make that I was faced with in year 5 of my business when I almost shut the doors. Option 1 is if things are really tough in your business, if your situation is extreme, you could choose to close up shop, you could choose to quit, or you could choose to accept that this is just the way it's going to be and keep struggling with work-life balance and stress and ultimately burnout, which is what happened to me. Or lastly, you could choose to make a change, make a positive change, take back control of your time, and spend it doing the things you love. Start working on your business instead of in your business all the time, right? So if you enjoyed what we talked about and you didn't already grab this link, here's the link again with all the notes, my detailed notes of everything we talked about. You could use the special link that's up on the screen there, or you could use the QR code that you see. Okay. So I'll leave this up there. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just go to the next screen because the link and the QR code are still there. But now it's time for me to stop talking a little bit and take some of your questions. So I'm going to do a quick scan in the chat. But if anybody has a question, I think you're able to unmute yourself. So I don't know, Lewis, if we should moderate this in some way. I feel like our group's not too huge. It's going to get out of control here.
Yeah.
So
So
if anybody has a question, I'm open to it.
let me answer one issue that I think earlier this link was incorrect on one of your earlier slides.
Oh no, which link?
This link, this Kidvention one. So
Oh, okay.
this link is the actual one. I think you used partypromanager.com/Kidvention.
So this link is sorry, this link will get you the let me just clarify this.
Yeah,
This link will get you the notes. The other link will bring you to the Party Pro Manager website in a way that will get you the free email templates that we will send and so that we could flag you for Lewis. Was that link not working?
correct. So that link
Okay.
wasn't working.
All right, let me get that fixed.
Yep.
I'll look into that as soon as we're done here as well. Okay.
Yeah, and I threw up the link that does work that you sent me. So I
This is
threw
so
that
weird.
in there. So people can use that if they have any
Okay.
issues. But let me just one thing that my biggest problem, the biggest issue I've ever had in my business, Party Pro Manager actually solved, which was that phone call that you get on a Sunday afternoon, and I answered the phone, and they said, "Hey, is this Lewis?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is Lewis." And they go, "Lewis, you're supposed to be here at my party. It's 3 o'clock on Sunday. Didn't you have us in the system?" And what happened was I didn't move the information that I had when they booked it to my calendar system. And
Yeah.
because I didn't do that, I missed the gig. And that
Yeah.
was the biggest mistake I can make. And now that never happens because it's automatically in my system, and then it automatically links to Google Calendar. And so
Yeah.
I get multiple reminders telling me when I have gigs and stuff like that. And so, but yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel
And
free.
I just dropped that Party Pro Manager / Kidvention link back in the chat there. I just ran a test on my end. It was working. So if anybody else wants to test it, let me know if it isn't working. Maybe I had a typo or my QR code was faulty. But I'll be happy to try and get that
Working
fixed as
now.
well. Okay. So yeah, it is working now.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, amazing. So that should be good. So I'm just going to scan the chat, but if anybody has any questions while I'm scanning the chat, throw them my way because I'm scrolling up a lot just to see, having time to sit down and set up all the automation within the program.
So Mitch,
This is Amy. Yeah,
Karen
sorry, go ahead.
asks, is it okay to talk about the price?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll tell you what the prices are right now. So, and also on the Party Pro Manager website, there's a pricing page. Nothing is hidden. So, first of all, there's no processing fees, as I mentioned. We do offer different plans. Currently, the plans, though, they're going to be revamped soon with what's included in the different plans, but they range currently from around $20 to about $60 per month. And it depends on what your needs are and the size of your team and stuff like that. The pricing plans are going through a revamp soon, but it's not going to change drastically in terms of pricing. Okay, just so you know, there might be slight differences, but that's the approximate range that you're looking at based on the size of your team. Okay. I see Amy asked the question here saying, my issue is having the time to sit down and set up all the automation within the program. Is there an additional option to have someone do that? So this is a great question, Amy. I'm not sure if you've already tried a trial with Party Pro Manager. A couple things I want to mention is we don't offer a done for you service where we set it up, and it's actually by design because we feel that if we do it for you, you won't be equipped to fix it if ever you want to make changes to your catalog or to make a change to an automation. So what we've done instead is we actually provide a step-by-step video tutorial series that covers all the key steps along the way to setting it up. And it's literally me at my computer sharing my screen going, you're going to click here, you're going to go there. So now you have access to me basically 24/7, and you can hit pause on me, which a lot of people would love to do sometimes. And you could do it, you go try it, and it walks you through all the key steps in the process. There are additional options to like we have built right into the app. There's an in-app chat support feature. We have multiple people from our team monitoring that. We're not a massive team, but we do monitor it, and we really pride ourselves on giving very thorough responses when people have questions. They're not always instant, but we do our best within a 24-hour period. So we are there to help guide you as best we can. But what I will say is it is a time investment, and there's a bit of a thinking process too to sitting down and setting it up. But spending the 2 hours it takes to set it up now, maybe 4 hours total spread across 2 to 4 weeks, will literally save you 10 to 20 hours a week for the rest of your life. So the question is that time investment today worth it? And we will be here every step of the way to guide you. I've had people who've reached out to me, and I normally will send them to like a help documentation or a video we've already recorded that shows them how to do it. Sometimes people stump me and I'm like, I actually don't have a help documentation that covers that. So I'll sit down and I'll immediately record a video just for them and I'll send it to them. So that's the level of service we'll provide, but we don't offer a done for you service because we want you to have that hands-on experience. So hopefully that makes sense. Will emails push the emails to company spams? Great question about the spam. So email's a doozy, right? We all had it. Like I have it sometimes with my wife. I'll send an email to her and it goes into her spam filters, and I don't understand like we're trying to coordinate what we're doing for dinner. So we very closely monitor the reputation of our server. We have incredibly high like reputation rating for our send rates, and our deliverability rates are extremely high. That said, email is email, and sometimes things do land in junk folders. A feature that's actually being rolled out this January, somebody else asked about this, is text messaging. We are building in integrated text messaging notifications now as well. So you're going to be able to both email and text message or SMS message your clients. And so you'll be able to sort of come at them on all fronts and make sure that message gets in their hands. Okay. So that is something that's being worked on actively right now. And we're looking at a January rollout. It's rolling out in phases because not for those of you who have staff, you're going to like this. Not only will you be able to text message your clients and set up automation rules that do that for you, we're actually going to be adding in text messaging for your staff too. So you'll be able to be like, hey, don't forget your gig tomorrow, or your subcontractors, don't forget your gig tomorrow, stuff like that. Okay. Let me just keep scrolling now through the questions. If I miss anything, just alert me to it. So somebody asked about the website. We already talked about that one. Okay, somebody asked about printing monthly, quarterly, annual income reports. Okay, love this question. So something we're looking at adding more of is even more thorough reporting options, like business snapshot kind of graphs and charts. We don't currently have that. However, what we do offer is, and this is an important thing as well, it should probably be on my checklist of things to look for systems that you're looking into. We do not hold your data hostage. So at any point, you could filter your event list. I'll show you actually an example of this. Let me pull up my screen. Sorry, I got to get the right screen here. Where is that? I think it's just hiding here. Oh boy, sorry. I'm clicking things. I'll keep talking while I'm doing this. But you can, at any point, you could filter this event list by a number of things. You could filter it by status. You could filter it by all these advanced filters we offer, date range, all these different things. You filter the list down to whatever it is you're looking for, and you click export. And then that data is yours. It's your data. We're not holding it hostage. You can pull it out of the system whenever you want. It brings it into an Excel document, a spreadsheet, and from there you could run any reports that you'd like. We are looking to add even more comprehensive advanced stuff to do it for you, but just so you know, this is available. If you wanted to know, for example, how many magic shows did I do? And you want to do between a certain date, you go here and you could filter it by date as well. And then you immediately see, okay, these are all my magic shows. It's all filtered down by that. Or maybe you want to know how many gigs did Pamela do between a specific date range. Boom, I could see all of hers. And then there's also gig reports on the staff as well, where you could see how much you owe them and how much you've paid them and all that stuff as well. So hopefully that answers that question somewhat. Um, any other questions? I'm just scrolling through. Texting, we already answered that one. Google Calendar, yes. So Emily asked, does PPM link with Google Calendar? There is a Google Calendar integration. So events that get created in PPM could automatically flow right through to your Google Calendar. In addition to that, your staff have access to their own staff portal. They could subscribe to their own Google feed for just their gigs. They're not seeing everything else that's going on in the business. They are only seeing what they've been booked into. Okay. And that could automatically flow through to their Google Calendar. And the last little piece on Google Calendar I'll say is if you currently use Google Calendar, when you're moving into Party Pro Manager, you could have an inbound integration. And the way that works is it brings the gigs you have in Google Calendar into Party Pro Manager. So any gigs you have moving forward, you could easily import them into Party Pro Manager from your Google Calendar, making it easier for you to get started. Okay. How easy is it to upgrade plans as we grow? Great question, Adam. I love this one. Our plans are month to month. There's no long-term commitments. At any point within the platform, you go to the subscription area, click to upgrade, click to downgrade. People flow through as they need to. If ever you need more staff licenses than what our plan offers, just connect with us and we'll show you how we can upgrade the staffing allotment within your account as well, because there are some limitations on some of that stuff. So hopefully that answers that. Amy said, sounds great. Is that series an extra cost? So I'm assuming you're talking about the video series that I was talking about. No, in fact, you could go look at it now without even signing up if you wanted to. Okay. So that series of videos of me walking you through every step is just part of it. Is it available for us to use via cell phones or tablets? Yeah, absolutely. There's a mobile responsive version of it for use on a mobile device, and that version of it is optimized for the on-the-go kind of tasks. So you can't set everything up on your mobile device on your phone. For some of that stuff, you want to be on a tablet or like a laptop or a desktop. But for the on-the-go kind of stuff, like sending an email to a client or marking it as paid, things like that, you could absolutely do all that stuff on your phone. Is there a way to do recurring events in here, like weekly after school programs? That's a good question. We do have, um, secretly, we have a module we are working on to try and help cover the more like the classes and clubs and camps kind of model. But currently our system, that's not the core of our system. There are other platforms out there that might handle that side of things a little bit better, just giving you a fully honest response. Can we put a variety of event types, foam parties, magic shows, laser tag? Absolutely. You can have them all in the same calendar. And within the next couple of months, we're introducing, I don't know if you have these separated into different brands. We're introducing a multi-brand feature where you can have separate brands for your different services as well. You can, oh yeah. Oh, thank you, Lewis, for handling some of the questions as well. Yeah, will Venmo work as well? So our understanding actually is that Venmo, because it's a subsidiary of PayPal, is if somebody is paying on a mobile device, Venmo is actually automatically offered as an option. As a Canadian, I don't actually use Venmo, so I don't know. I haven't seen this with my own eyeballs. Something where we are adding as well as a way for you to add more custom payment instructions as well. So you'll be able to say, offer Venmo as a payment option, just say Venmo me at this email address or whatever, however the accounts work with Venmo. Okay, so that'll be an option as well. But with that case, like Venmo, as far as we know, there's no way to do an automated integration with it like we can with PayPal and we can with Square. When they pay by Square, as an example, it automatically tells Party Pro Manager the payment's been received and it automatically updates the status and emails the client, does all that. That's what Lewis was talking about earlier, waking up and finding money. That's that integration at work. With Venmo, we can't do that. So you could receive the money. You will have to manually then go in and flag that event as you saw me do when I was pretending the cash payment was received. Okay. Thank you, Amy, for the kind words about the system. I appreciate that. So I encourage all of you to do a free trial. I'll that link we put it in the chat before. I will I'll let you know again. It's www.partypromanager.com/kidvention. So that's to get the free trial. I don't have much else unless there's any other questions. I don't have much else to say. I feel like I've been talking at you folks for a real long time here, and I know it's getting late. Oh, Adam, question about Zapier. We don't offer a Zapier integration currently, so it's something that we're looking at. Currently not available. Um, Depending on what you're looking at, where you're looking to filter your data through. So, for example, some people who work with us also use QuickBooks as their accounting platform. So, what they do is their Square account is where they collect their payment. Their Square account is connected directly with their QuickBooks account. And so the data just flows from Party Pro Manager to Square to QuickBooks, things like that. So, if you ever have any specific questions about integrations you're looking for, reach out to me. If you have any questions about any of this, not just about the platform, if you have any questions about the strategies we talked about, you want to just talk shop. Like I love talking about our industry. I love it. I do it all the time. If you're not in our Facebook group, join us there because we're having conversations all the time about the sales, marketing, operations side of business. And that's the Party Business Think Tank. And you'll see I'm very active there. So ask me questions, reach out to me on Facebook. You can email me if you go to partybusinessgrowth.com. You'll see there's ways to contact me there as well. But I want to thank all of you for joining. You didn't have to spend your evening listening to me drone on and on. So I really appreciate you doing that. And I also want to thank Lewis. Thank you so much for coordinating this. This is awesome. I just love connecting with people in our world, and you have an awesome community. And so it's just really great to be able to be part of this.
Thanks. You know, it's that's part of the what I've always wanted to do with Kidvention is it Kidvention should be a conference place, but it should also be a resource where people would
Yeah.
get additional information about running things. And so I appreciate you actually coming to hang out with us to share a tool that is a resource for people. And you know, some of my Kidvention, Karen and George, you guys have been there for many years. So my intention is always to keep promoting this because I know it works because I'm a user myself.
Yeah.
So I'll keep promoting this, and
Thank you.
the bigger group that we get, I'm gonna have Mitch come to the convention eventually, and we're gonna
Yeah,
have a
I was
special
hoping to
group.
do it this year, but my like the travel schedules didn't work out. But
Yeah,
we were going to make this happen. I'm
yeah,
confident.
we will do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, everyone. I really hope that that you got some ideas here that you feel like you could put into practice. Like that's the main thing is like every little change, it's incremental. Like, yes, a tool will be like it could be life changing, but even if you just make like a small change, you just eliminate a step in your process. All these little incremental changes, they really add up very quickly.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys. Convention will see you soon. We're gonna have more stuff coming your way, and then any stuff I get from Mitch, I'm gonna send out and I'll let you guys know. But hopefully, we get a good core group together, and we'll have some regular meetings about this stuff, and we'll create another group. But you know, I put the Facebook group for Mitch's group earlier in here, so that think tank
Oh,
is
thank you.
yeah. So if you guys click that link early, it's pretty early on, but if you click that. The replay will be available if you want to go back over this stuff. But honestly, the best way is just do the free trial because it gets your hands dirty. You know, you get your face in there and get to just try this stuff out, and it's worth it. So, but that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone.
Can I ask you one quick question, Mitch?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you located in Toronto?
I am. Did my accent give it away? Like, what was the
No, I'm
giveaway?
in Toronto too. Would you
Oh,
be
you
willing
are.
to
Did the
come
Jays
to?
win tonight? Do
No,
you know? Oh, all right. Sorry, everyone. You didn't have to witness this.
that's why I kept turning my head, and I was disappointed because I actually one of the balloon artists for the Jays.
Oh no.
Yes, I was
Well,
hoping it
that's
would
fun.
be a playoff game. But my question is, we have a entertainers group in Toronto. Would you be willing to come out and talk about it at one of our
Oh,
meetings?
cool. Yeah, absolutely. Let's definitely connect. So
Okay,
I'm in the Fans of Capital Convention Facebook group too. So that's another spot people could find me. But absolutely, David, let's connect. I would love that.
okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you for thinking of me for that. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.